Well, welcome back to the press conferences here in Bahrain on day 2. We've got the team principals, and I've been told reliably by all of them we should start without Toto Wolff, who's on his way over. He'll join us shortly. Andy, I'll start with you, if that's okay. You sat closest to me, so thanks very much. It looks like it's been a good start to the test for Aston Martin, but maybe didn't get as much mileage as you'd like. Just talk me through it and how you're feeling.
A good start. Learning, doing experiments, trying to understand all the setup aspects that we've got, the options. I guess we've not been focusing on putting mileage on the car. There's a lot of carryover, power unit carryover and cooling carryover. So there's no need to rack kilometres up. It's more about doing good experiments and learning and getting ready for the season ahead.
But early days looking good?
It's hard to tell, isn't it? It's incredibly hard to tell. We've got a strategy group that are racking their heads, keep telling me what fuel loads these guys are running, and what load Toto's running, although the results are always a bit late from there. It's about understanding our car. It's about learning. It's about trying to tie up the results from the factory with the results that we're getting here in the real world of running around a racetrack. We're learning lots.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Andy. And welcome, Toto. Thanks for joining us. Fred, I'll come to you next. Lewis looked pretty good out there. I know it's only testing, that's what you're going to tell me, but it was looking encouraging from Ferrari for the first 1.5 days of testing so far.
Yes, so far so good, but the first topic is reliability. I think it's always crucial at this stage of the season, and it went well. Now performance, as Andy said before, that nobody knows the level of fuel except Toto on Aston Martin, but nobody knows the level of fuel of the others. It means that it's quite difficult to make any forecast or prediction, and it's much better to stay focused on yourself, on your data, and to work on alone.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Fred. AO, coming to you. It looks like Haas has been running a slightly different program here, maybe a bit more fuel. Just talk me through how happy you are with the running so far.
Yeah, again, it's a bit difficult to know, but for us, we just focus on reliability, mileage, so a bit opposite of what Andy said. And also, we got 2 new drivers, and then our engineering crew at the track side, lots of changes, so really focus on the communication, management, etc. So yeah, we're just going through our program.
How are those organisational changes fitting in? Because you've got obviously 2 new race engineers for each of the drivers.
No, it's going pretty well. Obviously, we knew that was one of our biggest challenge, to get everyone gel together, talk on the same language, communicate well with clarity, and again with 2 new drivers. So we've done lots of preparation before we come here. Feels, I think that's paying off. So even yesterday from 10 o'clock in the morning, it was pretty good. So we just keep working on that.
Great stuff. Thanks very much. James, coming to you. Looks like an encouraging couple of 1.5 days for Williams so far. Just talk me through how good you're feeling. And are Williams shaping up to be top of the midfield at the minute?
No, I think it's unfortunately too early to say that. I mean, Io next to me is running all his fuel and probably all of Ferrari's fuel in it by their lap time. So, and came back last year to be hyper competitive. I think at the moment what you are seeing, which is a great thing, is the difference in fuel mass and power modes is masking the difference between the teams. That's a good thing. That means the sport's getting closer and closer together. But it's not a cold, wet Bahrain that we're going to be able to determine the order. I think realistically it's only when we get to Melbourne that we'll see it. And my view on that is the top 4 will be the top 4. I think there's a large gap between them and the midfield. And then the midfield, not sure. It's going to be a scrap, and I think it will depend race by race.
Great stuff. Looking forward to it, James. Thanks. And Toto, thanks again for joining us. It looked like from George's perspective, he was talking about how he was able to push the car straight away yesterday. That's always a good sign, I imagine. Are you happy with where the team are at after a day and a half of testing?
Yeah, first of all, I must say I'm really happy in this lab here. You're a new kid on the block, but with these guys I've worked so long, it feels like a family. I love you too. Put the screen up here, watch a movie. So that's nice. Sensible people finally in sensible positions.
I want to know who you think wasn't in a sensible position.
Well, there's a few others that are not sensible. George, yeah, we it's a little bit of a lost myself. What? In Bahrain, I forgot. Yeah, testing. I think sometimes you take junctions that go in the wrong direction. Maybe yesterday we tried something in the afternoon that didn't function. It wasn't so good. And it's about having a car that gives more confidence. That was the thing we were missing last year. That was a bit of unpredictable, and that seems to be a tiny step ahead. But like all of you said, we have no idea about fuel loads. Yesterday, Norris was on a different planet. Very, very good. Lewis this morning, Sainz on a C2, very impressive. So you really have no idea, and the conditions are really totally not representative.
Great stuff. Thanks very much, Toto. Right, I'll open it up to the floor. Questions, please.
Autosport. Question to Toto, please. Your car last year very strong when temperatures were similar to this, Silverstone, Spa, Vegas. Have you got any indication yet as to whether it might be more competitive when things heat up, or have these conditions made it harder to get a read on that?
Well, I'm a bit worried at the moment because that should be conditions where we should be 2 seconds quicker than everybody else, which was the only highlight last year in terms of performance in Las Vegas, and we are not. So either we have remedied the problem and we are more balanced through all the climate conditions or not. But it's a bit, we had a laugh about it, whether we lost some of that USP. I shall see, I don't know.
Thanks, Toto. Next question, please.
Christian Mehnert, motorsportmagazin.com. Question is for Toto, Fred, and Andy. What do you think about going back to V10s in Formula One? Would you be up to the change even earlier than 2031?
Andy, do you want to start with that one?
Yeah, welcome.
I think Toto would. Should I answer for all three of us?
Yeah.
I think we're all excited about this season and then the 5 years afterwards, where we're continuing to enjoy the V6 and ERS. There's a tweak to the power unit regulations for the following 5 years, and we're all focused on that at the moment. There are some debates going on in the background as to what we should do beyond that. We should get all the stakeholders together and work out what's best for the sport going forwards. But right now I'm just focused on this year and next year, which is the start of another 5-year regulation period.
Fred, let's come to you.
No, it looks to be very early for me to discuss about the engine of 2030 E1 or whatever. That we didn't start the next homologation. That we have still some huge topic on the tables. That we didn't start this journey, and let's be focused on this before to discuss about 2030 or 31. For sure, it will come. That then we'll have the discussion. But I think it's let's work on the next one first.
Thanks, Fred. Toto?
I think there's two aspects. First of all, we should be excited about these new regulations coming in next year. We should be talking them up. This is our sport. It is important to have the positivity about it, that such an exciting motor comes into the car. We are pushing the boundaries of battery technology on sustainability. It's the first year we're having 100% sustainable fuel. Nobody knows where all of this is going to pan out. And that is really exciting that Formula One is trailblazing. So all of us stakeholders, I think we should be really cheering for this and making sure that the sport is perceived in such a high-tech way as it needs to be, and less driven by opportunistic thoughts. That's number one. Number two, this is a 5-year cycle. There's regulations in place. Whilst this is the journey onwards, having a discussion about what comes afterwards, whether it is an 8-cylinder V8s that we like a lot, that are maybe more road relevant than a V10 going forward. I think it's also an exciting discussions to be had. What kind of hybrid system could be playing that role? Are the sounds going to go up? All this is really an interesting conversations within a life cycle of regulations, and that's worth it. But at the moment, I think it's a bit premature, and we are at risk of diluting the messaging to the world if the year before we have even started these new exciting regulations, we talk about something that comes later.
Great stuff. Thanks, Toto. Next question, please.
Fred Ferrelli, keep question for Toto and Fred. Do you have any concern about the tires of 2026?
So far not. We did a test day in Barcelona a couple of weeks ago, and honestly it went very well, probably even better than expected. But so far it's not a topic at all.
Toto?
I think the most important is that between Pirelli and the teams we collaborate, and that's why we're doing the mule car testing, that the data we collect, the feedback that we get from the drivers goes straight into Pirelli and into the regulations, and we come up with the best solutions. But it's very easy. Those tires are the same for all of us. So we need to just cope with it, and Pirelli will be keen. I mean, Fred has different Pirelli tires. Sorry, I forgot that. We need to cope with these regulations and make sure that for the sake of Pirelli, the sport and the teams, we have the best tire.
Thanks, Toto. Got a question over there.
A question for Fred, Mara San Giorgio, Sky Sport Italy. We saw the president, John Elkann, this morning in the box. In the last 7 years, it's just the second time that he came during the session days. What does it mean? How important is for the team?
It's important because that for everybody into the team that we feel the support of the group and the support of Mr. Elkann, and this is good energy and positive energy, and I'm more than happy that he could join today.
Thanks, Fred. Next question, please. There's one at the front here.
Chris Madden for Racer. It's another question for you, Fred. During the launch event that the team did last week, Charles said that the team and yourself have done a really good job of staying focused on what's important ahead of this season, with Lewis coming and all the interest and excitement. Is that something you had to actively try and make sure that the team wasn't distracted or almost like overly excited heading into the new season? Or is it just a sign of kind of where Ferrari's at the moment, that it could absorb that?
I think everybody and every single team is excited at the beginning of the season. It's the DNA of our sport, and we are all have the feeling that we can be world champion at the beginning. And it's when you are speaking about to the drivers or to the teams, we are all positive, but I think it's normal. In our case, that in our situation, I think it went very well this winter. That for sure we had a huge wave of marketing and so, but the team stayed focused all the winter, and it's two separate organizations.
Thanks very much, Fred. Next question.
Luke Smith from The Athletic. A question for Toto and for James, please. We're very excited about what could be one of the closest seasons in F1 history. All of you guys have talked that up. But off the track over the winter, we've had the FIA issue these new misconduct guidelines that's gone down with the drivers not too greatly. We had the condemnation of tribalist booing at the O2 last week as well. There was a BBC report yesterday as well about some tension in the FIA. Are you concerned at all that the off-track shenanigans in F1 this year could overshadow what could be a classic season on the track?
James, do you want to go first?
I mean, no, I'm not worried it will overshadow, because I think we have such a strong product, as Toto said. So let's start with the O2. I was unsure how that event would go. I think it was absolutely fantastic and did the sport a justice, and well done to Formula One for organising it, and well done for the teams to really leaning into it at the same time. I don't think there's a place for booing. We were going there to effectively represent our sport that we're passionate about, and we need to remember that it's trying to give back to the world. It's not a hero evil type environment. In terms of what's going on, as we said all the way through, there's always going to be areas where we're fighting one another, be it in politics, the FI or Formula One. That's a fairly normal element. So if we start with the swearing, which is one of your questions, what I've already said all the way through is if a driver's in the car putting their life on the line, all of you in this room, I would as well, you would use words you're not proud of in the heat of the moment. I think we have to accept that that is the sport that we're in. It's probably a different environment when we're here in this quiet room, because we are a representation of our sport and we should be proud of what we are saying to the world. So I think we have to take a lens on what's happening at different points. But I don't think it overshadows what is an incredible sport that is growing day by day.
Yeah, look, very, very similar to James. First of all, we either didn't know what to expect from the event, and it was very good. Also, the job that some of the smaller teams did in terms of marketing and the launch was exceptional. Everything was immaculate. The organization was really good. It was a top event for our sponsors that really enjoyed it. That's the feedback we got. And we need to applaud Formula One for what they did. I'm sure this format is going to expand in the next few years, maybe to different places, and that's exceptional. Now, yes, we were all surprised of the amount of booing that happened, particularly to one individual. There wasn't any booing really on Max. That was, them coming in was a consequence of what happened before, but that was big and bad and came as a surprise to everyone. I mean, it's his home turf, and still Christian got this boos. So boos shouldn't be in the sport. But in my opinion, that wasn't directed to Max. On the other side, the swearing. None of us, and I was vocal about it, likes to have these words expressed, because we are role models, and I think we are. You may laugh about it, but I think we are gentlemen's sport. We are high tech. We represent that. It's different to more mainstream sports. I see as a little bit, rugby for me is sophisticated, and nobody would ever say a word to an official. So I don't think we should be swearing about officials, that's for sure. And that's why also the FIA needs to protect that, it's clear. For me, it is about respect to your competitors, respect to the officials, not insulting anybody, whether it's your own people or whether it's a competitor out there on track. And it makes a big difference whether you use the F word in the context of your own driving or out of emotion, like James said, because I'm using that. If I have no other, if I'm annoyed, but when it is directed in the car to another driver, to an official, or to your team, I think this is what we need to prohibit. And we need to make a difference, in my opinion, between these two. We don't want to mute the drivers and their emotions. If we're in a press conference, if we are being interviewed, that's a completely different set. But in the car, as long as it's not an insult, and as long as it's not disrespectful to somebody else, I would just let it go, but that's my personal opinion.
Thanks, Toto. Next question, please.
Hi. Question for AO and for Toto, it's James Allen. Why is this year the year to trust in rookies?
AO, do you want to take that one first?
I don't know if this is the year to trust in rookies, but it just so happens that young, exciting rookie like Oli Beerman was available, and then of course we first ran him in 23 in Mexico. And then from that moment, it was clear that he had a huge potential. And we worked with him last year, and then some of you saw what he's done last year. So it just happened to be this timing. But yeah, and then I think it's great that he then has a fellow rookies to fight against as well. But yeah, from yesterday as well, he got back in the car, really positive, motivates people, really exciting. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Thanks, Toto.
Yeah, what I said about Beerman, that's, I think, most important. For us, Kimi was always in the pipeline, and we knew if Lewis were to stop one day, we would be going the Kimi way and trusting him. But when everybody saw the level of performance of Beerman in the Ferrari in Saudi Arabia, with basically missing out on the Friday and then being exceptional, you I think many teams were saying, oh, hold on a minute, where is Beerman in F2, where is he in F3, what has he done before? And the realization came maybe the level of these young drivers is very high, actually. Then Colapinto was put in the car and performed extraordinary, to everybody's surprise, also against Alex. And I think this is why we got the wave and the trust in the young drivers that they're actually capable to do this. So let's see how it pans out. But it's exciting to have 3, 4, 5 of these young drivers now coming into the sport.
Great stuff, Toto. I think we can squeeze one more question in.
John Owen from The Race. To Toto and Fred, obviously with 26 on the horizon, you've obviously got a rough idea of when development this year will be shut down, but how difficult is it to be going to stay disciplined if the championship fight's very close, and if upgrades can kind of change that title outcome at the end to stick to your moment of shut-off?
Who wants to take that first? Fred.
For sure it will be a challenge, and it will be the question of the year that we will have a first picture about performance and championship quite soon, with 5 races in 6 weeks. And I think this will also steer a little bit the decision that if you are 1 second ahead or 1 second back, I think it's much easier to take a decision. But this is completely unrealistic. We will be into the pack, and the pack will be tight, and it will be a tough choice for sure.
Yeah, I think that it's good to say the question of the year, because it's true. We have a plan normally when you shift. It's the first good thing today, Fred. We have a plan how we shift into next year's regulations when they are stable, and gradually over the spring and the summer you then go over. But this time is such a massive change, so it will, like Fred said, it will depend on the performance levels.
Great stuff. Toto, thank you very much. And gentlemen, thanks for your time. That's all for now. You can escape.